Let's
Oh, that's okay. I can
have
turn it off.
everyone introduce each other. We've got a lot of new.
And let's take a look at the agenda. All right, we've successfully checked off our warm welcome and opening remarks. Let's move on to changes in monitoring and updates on meeting protocols, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to Vic.
Okay, well, the change in monitoring is going to be a little bit different. You know, that checklist that I did, that's going to start going out with the Alliance when they do their initial best practice visit. However, we are going to be doing some updates because we got new guidance in 2023, and we want to make sure that the checklist aligns with the new guidance because we want to have it to where you get concise information about what you need to be doing as a program. And so if there's any updates to be made, we're going to make them before we do that. And then I'll be focusing on the comprehensive visits and any other kind of monitoring that happens because of claims and things like that. So that's a real positive change. So expect that to be coming up in the next month. Although on my site visits, we're going to have to start doing some that'll be virtual, but only because of all the financial stuff they've got me doing here at the DE. And you know that the priority is for you guys to get paid. And that takes precedence over, you know, a site visit. We may have to schedule some in the fall, especially if you want me to come in person. But other than that, I'm going to move on to the PD requirements. Now, they've been trying to streamline PD requirements, and I put in the chat a link to something that's essentially Title II. That doesn't entirely apply to us, but some of the principles do. Now, most of our PD is in the contract, so it's allowable. However, if you want to go out of state, what I'm going to ask in the future, if it's not directly related to after school, that you send me a little, you know, sentence of why you need it for the work of after school, how it applies, just so that we can make sure that we're connecting all the dots for allowability. And let's see here.
Vic, can I ask a quick question
Sure.
about that? So Boys and Girls Club does, regional and national conferences. I'm assuming, since the entire program is focused on after school, we would be able to reimburse those conferences. The one I'm just thinking of specifically is in October. It's in Milwaukee. So would you want something sent in about that, or are we
Yes.
just okay?
Yeah, because the Boys and Girls Club has things about club business, and we want to make sure that we can connect that it's directly related to your work.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, because I like to have you guys know ahead of time if there's something coming down that could, affect approval. And, it's best to stay ahead of the game for things like that. And keep in mind that, I've only got 3 years and the clock is ticking, and we're putting things in place that'll also be whoever replaces me in the future, it'll be, very streamlined. But great question. And any kind of question you may have about allowability, make sure that you ask me ahead of time. I just had a question that somebody said, oh, well, we had spent some money and is this allowable? And I had to tell them no. However, if you work with me ahead of time, there may be a way that we can think about how it's applied and make it allowable. So I do my best to try to help you guys get, that funding. And so let's go on to the discussions from the field. Heidi, you want to?
Wonderful. Yes, I'm actually going to take us off the agenda again, and I will go ahead and throw these questions into the chat just in case you need a little. And I'm sorry about the formatting. It doesn't like me copying pasting, but I know that you can figure it out. So we're looking at a few different questions that Vic would like some feedback on today. And we ask that you please share your insights on one or all of these discussion questions. And if you're having trouble with audio today, you're welcome to post your answers in the chat. We just want to open up for an open discussion. We don't have to take these questions in order, whatever you feel, comfortable talking about, and just go ahead and take yourself off mute and start talking. There doesn't have to really be structure to this. So who's going to be the brave soul that starts us off?
I can get us
I will.
started off.
Go ahead.
All right. The first question here, what's kind of the number one challenge with staffing? Over the course of the last few years, or at least since I've been involved with the Boys and Girls Club, trying to find a kind of a staff base that has, the qualities that we're looking for within after school programming in youth development has not always been very easy, especially working in nonprofit. It's hard to be competitive with the way that wages are continuing to go up. So I think that's been one of our biggest struggles, is finding, kind of the quality of employment that we're looking for with, the price we're able to pay for those people has been one of the biggest challenges.
I'll piggyback off of that with the same question with staffing. All of the things that Bailey shared, and we kind of find with us too, we do before school and after school. Those hours combined is still a part-time job. So, typically people are looking for more hours than that, or something that offers benefits. And along with that comes typically people that might have a little bit higher quality, and not that the staff that we employ, everybody brings their value, right? But as far as being able to retain them as well, a lot of our staff are college age, and so we're really happy if we have them for 4 years, that sort of thing. So, and the pay, of course, being able to offer them a wage that can match the quality that we're looking for.
I'll add to that. I'm in Des Moines. We're a larger school district, and we've had a lot of transitions that have affected our ability to effectively find a model that's sustainable, because due to different things and jobs being eliminated, and I know we have wonderful teachers, as I'm sure you all do on site, but at 3 o'clock when they're off the clock, a lot of those teachers want to go home. So it's just kind of difficult. I mean, the money's there. The teachers will get their union approved wage. So it's pretty good money, but at this point, sometimes money is not enough. So just finding a sustainable staffing model for us.
We've been able to utilize paraeducators to assist in our after-school program, and some of them have signed up for summer because their contract ends with the school year, so they're looking for employment for a few months. So they've been able to help us staff. The hard thing is we don't want them to go into overtime, so we kind of stagger them, stair-step it, so that we don't have anyone going way overtime or getting too much overtime. And then we've used high school helpers as well to help us staff.
So this is our 10th year of having the Pieces After School program, 21 CCLC funded, and we I have to say, I feel very grateful that of the program that we have, because we've hired a lot of associates over the years, and I have associates that have been with us all 10 years.
Wow.
I have associates that have been with us 7 years, 5 years. So we have key staff in each of my sites that have been with us since the beginning of the program in their building. And then we supplement that with with high school students or certified teacher, or, people who don't necessarily stay multiple years. And so for us, it was more how do we onboard the new people coming in throughout the year, because we have a very strong program and set and foundation, and the people who have been with us forever. And so that's one challenge that we have, that we've been working on, because you need the staff, but yet it's important that we onboard them correctly so that they stay, so that they're successful, so that the kids feel supported. It goes back to that quality staffing piece that we have. We have a couple things that we've been doing, but I still think that's an area of improvement. And I will say with pay, Sam, yeah, we unfortunately, our associates that have been with us 10 years and 9 years and 7 years, it is overtime pay. We get into that a lot. So their pay is great because they get time and a half. And my associates with their unions are at $30 an hour. So the pay is not a problem for these people. I'm running out of personnel line item because their pay is so freaking good. But I'm so happy that they've been with us for so long, and that consistency means everything. So it's you balance it all out and do what you can.
Great. I want to jump in here and just share what Caitlin added in the chat. She says she agrees with Bailey and Jenna. Additionally, they rely a lot on college students in the area, and the challenges include not having availability for consistent schedules. College students also seem to have less and less capacity to commit time outside their schoolwork, and report that they are often struggling themselves with brain health challenges. Okay, so mental health challenges in our young folks are even affecting our staffing, which is interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
I can chime
Caitlin.
in a bit more. I was in a room where a lot was happening noise-wise, so I didn't want to unmute, but I can chime in on that a little bit. I think that's all related since COVID, just young people's capacity to commit that. And I mean, we do get quality staff still from the colleges, and all of what Cassie mentioned about training, still pouring into those part-time people so that they have the best experience is important. And we do that. We've also shifted to have that full-time position be a big part of like a site. Each site has a full-time coordinator that can really have the most impact in the way that they're modeling for the other part-time staff to make sure that they're, meeting expectations on how we deal with behaviors and how we just work with kids. So that's going to help. But then again, that's a full-time position to pay for in our budget.
This is our first year, and one of the things, like Cassie said, is that we, as a school district, we decided to pay overtime for our associates who chose to be part of our program. And so we made sure that the pay was something that was very competitive. Our associates during the day do not make good money. And so our program is a much higher wage, encouraging the staff who know these kids during the day to keep those connections and build them into the evenings. And throughout our year, we have had very little turnover of our team. And then we have a partnership with our guidance counselor, where our students are in each year, they have to get more volunteer hours until I think that as a high schooler, they have to have a total of like 1,000 or 100. I should look it up and know for sure. But either way, we have the Bloodhound buddies. And so as the guidance counselors, I've kind of communicated with them that if high school students volunteer with us for at least half a year, and that if their performance is good and they get a positive review from our site, that they can be hired on as part of our team. And for a high schooler, $15 an hour sounds absolutely great to them, especially since they get to have fun with the kids and they really build that connection from the fall. So we have 2 different high schoolers who have decided to take advantage of that, who volunteered in the fall and would like to be retained this spring into then next fall. And so that's been kind of part of our recruitment for our younger staff, and for our associates, we actually have more staff interested in working right now than what I have positions for.
Keely, I like that you guys are relying on high school students, especially being like a neighboring school. So we're at Central Lee. We have a lot of high school students who are interested in becoming teachers. So they'll job shadow during the day with teachers here. And then they'll come and they'll work for us after school for a couple hours. They don't get paid as much, but this is still allowing them to get their feet wet and everything, which has been a fantastic opportunity for our juniors and seniors. Our only thing though is the associates. They do tend to get burnout a lot during the day, because during the day there are a lot of, I don't want to speak negatively about our students, but since COVID, we have noticed that children's home lives have shifted, and they're coming to school with completely different attitudes and behavior issues that I think historically have not been present. And I have personally been trying to do a lot of research on a connection between COVID and the impact on students and emotional, social aspects. And it's not really being studied as much as I think it should be, but there are a lot of organizations across the world that have started to notice that there is a massive impact long-term on young students, kindergartners, first graders, second graders that were not in school and kind of spent the very fundamental part of their childhood not learning what boundaries are, or how to listen, or how to do simple things like follow a line, walk down a hallway quietly. And a lot of associates who used to work at the school long term are used to kids behaving. And when they come to after school, you get these kids that have been in school all day. They're kindergartners or first graders, are full of energy. They are still, these little kids are still burnt out on, oh man, I just had to be here all day listening to teachers' rules and I don't even have rules at home anymore. So after school, we have noticed that there's kind of a challenge. So our high schoolers have actually been very, very good at understanding, because the high schoolers went through it too. They went through COVID too. They've seen shifts in their own home, and that has been both beneficial to the children that are in our program, because they have big high school students who are still kind of students to them, but they're big enough to be mentors to them, but they are helping them. And they have, I've seen a lot of social emotional progress with some of our kids, and that has actually been very beneficial. But I like that Fort Madison's doing that too.
Fabulous. And feel free to move on to other questions too. We can continue to talk about staffing. We absolutely can. You could also, share needs of your staff, of your program, or changes that you would like to see in the grant program, or just with OST in general.
This pandemic has caused a huge problem with chronic absenteeism. It's always been a problem, but it's magnified. And it's a national crisis. The worst state of all has been the state of Alaska. Half of the kids, 50%, are not coming to school. Imagine that. So in Iowa, at least we've got a lot of our kids that are still coming, although our chronic absenteeism has increased. But that in Alaska, they've got a lot more isolation than we do here in Iowa. So these are some challenges that we're going to have to work through.
I guess I'd have a question for that. I know in, the Waterloo Community Schools area, there is a large challenge with absenteeism, and being an after-school program, I feel like we don't have a lot of teeth in finding a way to try to get those kids more engaged. So I don't know if anybody else has, been able to kind of get their area turned around, but I'd really love to know some different kind of ways that different school districts and places have really tried to find a way to get kind of over the hump, because it's been extremely difficult for us. Even when you try to do targeted programs with kids and you try to, really push on them that, being in school is important, and, making sure that you show up here every day is beneficial. It feels like the message isn't quite hitting home. And I just didn't know if anybody had any positive experiences.
Well, I think Sam or I could probably talk to that. There's a difference between, right, a community organization funded program and then the school-based program, because we all have a lot tied into attendance. And there's wonderful research and great materials and great everything out there to support what you can do to positively impact attendance and kids coming to school, and reducing chronic absenteeism and reducing dropout prevention. So there's a lot there that we if you want to reach out, or we could talk offline. But there's whole kinds of stuff. But I do work in a school, so it's a very different perspective and strategy than a community partner.
I can say this about getting kids, even in community groups, is to attend more often, is you have to invite them into some leadership roles. And if they perceive that the program is fun and meets their needs, they're going to attend more often and want to make that part of their daily agenda. Sometimes, we describe something in a way that they don't get, and it may not be appealing because of the wording we've used. And there's nothing wrong with letting some of your students describe these activities. You might use the word, this is going to be tutoring. They might want to use the word, math slam, or reading challenge. But having them more involved will always benefit your attendance. In fact, that's a requirement of the grant, that you have a student leadership group, especially when you have middle school and high school kids, because that's how we, keep them interested, and we keep those attendance numbers up. But even younger kids, they can provide their input, and it makes them feel like they own it's their program. And that's what we want. Keep them engaged and interested in learning.
I would say something that we use in Des Moines, or we're trying to use, is a grant requirement as well, the family engagement opportunities, because families don't always feel welcome in the schools. If you can make that connection and have those showcases where parents and family members will come to see their kids, read a poem, show them a painting they made, a popsicle sculpture, they'll come. So we really got to get those families into making a habit of welcoming them into the school, because if you can get them involved and in the school, that's half the battle. I feel it's helpful for us. We try anyway.
I can kind of piggyback off of what Linda said. One of the elementary schools that I helped serve, the principal, this was her third year in the role, but she brought a different perspective to where she is more welcoming to our students of color and with those with diverse backgrounds. And she made a point of making those connections with the families. So then her family engagement events that she's done throughout the school year, she's seen a bigger turnout, especially with her students of color and diverse backgrounds. So I think that that school connection piece is a big part of it.
Back to what Vic said, we've really noticed with our high school students that when we plan field trips and different things, if it's coming from a teacher, kids will want to do it, but then they'll back out at the last minute. But if it's from the student-led groups that are planning those activities and organizing them, we just do have much better attendance and they're less likely to kind of back out at the last minute.
So I have noticed some of our fifth graders who are getting ready to end their participation with our after-school program because they're going to be aging out. And they're starting to get kind of bored with the program. Well, I sat down and I talked with them last week on what they wanted to do as middle schoolers. And we thought about it, and we don't really have a lot of after-school programs or anything for middle schoolers. So I told them, and I said, well, you guys are about to be the middle schoolers. What kind of programs do you want to have in the after school time that you have? And maybe you can think about it and then go to your principal and see if maybe you can start some clubs. And I had a few different kids whose faces just lit up and they want to start a chess club. One of them wants to start an art club. And they went and talked to the principal, and the principal's all for it. So we're hoping that that's going to bleed into the rest of the middle school. But that was really good for them. But then we have our third and fourth graders who are still in the program, but next year they're looking for leadership roles. And same thing, they are the ones that had our programs. We have a chess club that is incredibly popular. We're hoping to get a robotics program that a lot of kids really like. But another really simple thing that we like to use is we use radios so that we can connect all different groups that could be, you know, scattered throughout the school after school. And we like to reward kids that might struggle a little more during the day. We reward them by giving them leadership roles where they, it's usually the radios that they all argue over. They want to run the radios. So when parents come to pick them up, the kids will say, all right, parents for Joe Smith is here. And they feel like that's a really big job for them. And I've noticed a lot of kids at the beginning of the school year that might have had no interest in coming, or they had a lot of conflict issues during school, after school. They've really stepped up. They've grown. Their parents have said that they have seen more self-esteem in these kids, and that has really helped. And it's really just giving them a radio or letting them run a program or maybe play Uno with some of the kindergarteners. It's given them leadership roles that they never had before. And that has been very beneficial for a pretty large subgroup of our kids.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. We'll just give it a second, a little bit of wait time, just in case anyone has anything else they'd like to add.
Heidi, can I share the screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Dick, are you having trouble sharing, or are you just getting up what you want?
No, I have so many documents up
Okay,
that,
I'm just making
I
sure.
have to click a link and it says share additional documents.
That's okay. I just want to make sure it was working.
So, yeah, this is something that we need to do every year just to remind people. And it's the programmatic changes. We've had, a lot of staff turnover, and I can remember, somebody had a couple of people had CFOs that changed. And one of them, I'm wondering, hey, where's your claim in CASA? And, reaching out, found out that their CFO had switched. So it's important that you let me know. We if you're going to, try to want to change your grant, make sure you communicate with me on that. Especially changes in key persons like, your director, or your CFO. And there's actually a federal statute about that that you are required to let me know. And of course, I understand sometimes, you don't know. You find out, at the same time I do. So when you're sending me this information, make sure that you send me the valid email address, a cell phone number, office phone number, and, you know, any change in administrative address too. Because keep in mind that I need all those things for contracts, especially like a CFO. Anyone have any questions on that? Wonderful. Okay, I stopped sharing. Heidi, you can put the agenda back up and we can move to the next item. Or we can, there she
All
is.
right, I'm going to take it back from you. Great, I'm going to take it back from you. We wanted to, yeah, talk about the summer symposium that should be coming up from the Department of Ed this summer. And
Well, and they specifically asked me about having folks from Iowa present, because let me tell you, we are, you know, one of the national leaders in after school. Terms of partnerships, we have more than California, Texas. Texas has 130. Florida, Michigan. Michigan only has 6 partners posted. Of course, I was just looking at the latest. They're getting $50 million allocated to after school. But at any rate, you know, we've got so many things that we're doing that are, you know, taking the lead. Our evaluation, we follow the U.S. Department of Ed guidelines, and, you know, a lot of them don't. So we could share about some of the good things that are going on in Iowa with the nation at this conference. So I would encourage you, and if you've never presented, a nice way to do it is to have a team, a couple of folks say, we'll get together and we'll do a presentation on this topic. And I just suggested we could do partnerships, guidance of service to students with disabilities, investing in students, evaluation, our communities of practice. That's something that other states, I haven't heard of anybody else doing it. And of course, you know, this is all the Iowa way. We're doing this because we care about kids. You know, it goes beyond just, you know, a salary. So, you know, I would encourage all of you, you know, to think about doing a presentation. And, you know, if you've got some questions, reach out to me. I can probably help you with some ideas. And then, of course, think about presenting at our Iowa After School Conference that's going to be the end of September at the Stony Creek Inn that Heidi says it's all been remodeled. That's
well, it
where our
hasn't.
first conference happened too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've made some changes to the conference area, so it should be quite nice. I don't know if they've remodeled rooms or anything like that. So for those of you who are staying over, well, we'll see. September 26 and 27 at Stony Creek Inn. Registration is not open yet, but it will be shortly. And you can see that we're going to be opening early bird registration on May 13th. And for 21st Century, that rate will remain open through July 2nd. So it will span, you know, two great fiscal years, just in case you're wanting to register for it in this year or next year's PD money. It will be available through that July date, and then regular registration will be open July 13 to September 22. Right now, call for presenters and exhibitors is open. If you're interested in presenting, we would love to have an application from you on that. There is a link that is available. It should be in this agenda and will be when we send it back out to you, but it is on our website, on our Facebook page, and it'll be in our email summary when we send that out from this meeting. So any questions about the Impact After School Conference? If you're interested in helping us plan for that, we would love to have you on our PD committee. If you're not already on a community of practice, or if you'd like to be on another one, we would love to have you.
I just had a quick question. When and where would the summer symposium be at for this upcoming year?
San Francisco.
Oh,
It
wow.
is,
It's gonna be July, the end of July.
yeah, July 31st to August 1st. It's the national one. Sorry, everything's dinging on me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. And then the final thing I have here before we turn off the recording and open it up to conversation again, IO After School Alliance has some professional development opportunities available for the full network, 21st Century and additionals. There's a link tree included in this agenda. We'll put it in our email as well. Our next professional development best practice webinar is coming up on May 1st. It is a presentation from Rebecca Jillmeyer of the Iowa Children's Museum on best practices in STEM equity. And it will be a very good training. So if you're looking for something for yourself, your staff, to fulfill a 21st century requirement, or to fulfill a childcare licensing requirement, you can participate in that. Registration is through the link for the Teams meeting. You also have to register in iPower if you're looking for those additional credit hours.
What's the cost?
It is free, of course, free for everyone. Vic, is there anything else you want to say while we are recording for the man?
No, I think we've covered our agenda quite well, and I think now the next thing is for just to have our open-ended conversation.
Wonderful.